permanent knot. That's a rabbinic permanent knot. That's if it's meant to stay for 24 hours. You intend to leave it there for 24 hours. It's very important to understand that it's all about the intention. Important to understand it's all about the intention. It's not about how many hours, how much. So, for example, let's say comes Shabbos and you have a pair of shoes that's tight, and it was tied for 24 hours. But when you tied it, the intention was not necessarily to leave it at 24 hours. It ended up being 24 hours. So let's say you tie your shoes, here, give an example. Tie your shoes Friday morning, okay? And usually you take it off. Usually you untie it by the end of the day. You didn't. You took off the shoe and you didn't untie it. Now the next morning, this pair of shoes has been tied for 24 hours. But when you tied it, there wasn't your intention to stay for 24 hours. So it's all about the intention.
You untie that shoe then?
So you can untie it. It's all about the intention. Also, something that if you usually untie it, also that's considered that it wasn't intended to be tied for 24 hours. Usually tied in the morning and usually untied at the end of the day. No, what was my intention? That's what you usually do when you tie it. You usually untie it at the end of the day, so that's not an issue. And whenever you cannot tie it, you also cannot untie it. Now, another situation where it's prohibited even less than 24 hours, that is if it's a strong knot. If it's a strong knot, even less than 24 hours, then even less than 24 hours, less than, well, all right, even if it's less than 24 hours, you cannot make a knot if it's a strong knot. Yeah, everyone knows we went through what the strong knots are. Knot that's hard to tie, it's hard to undo. That's a strong knot, and you cannot tie it, and you cannot untie it. Did we discuss what's if you by mistake made a comes Shabbos morning and a pair of shoes got it, all of a sudden it's knotted and it wasn't intended? We discussed that already. Now, can you? So let's say a knot that you cannot untie. Could you cut it? Cut it on the knot, right? Could you cut it on the knot? If you cannot untie the knot, you also cannot cut it. Same thing. You could cut it in a different place, like anything, right? It's talking about the knot itself. If you cannot untie it, you also cannot cut it. Twist ties. Okay, let's see if you have it clear about twist ties. So you go to the store, you buy a bag of challah before Shabbos, and they tie it with a twist tie. They tie it like this, yeah. Now it comes Friday night, and you want to undo the twist tie. It's the twist tie. You want to see it? Anyone wants to see the twist tie? Anyone needs to see this? No, to you. Don't really feel it.
I think we passed it around yesterday.
So could you untie the bag of challah Friday night?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yes. Why? First of all, is this considered a knot?
No.
It's a machlokes. It's an argument that this is considered a knot. It's just twisting it. Some say it's like a knot. And if it is a knot, let's say it's a knot. Now, before Shabbos, you bought a bag of Shabbos, they twisted it like this. Let's say it's a knot. Now, Friday night, you want to undo it. Is there a problem? Are you allowed to do it? Then you're not, because if it's a knot, then you're not allowed to do it, right? Wrong?
No, you could. Less than 24 hours. It's not strong.
Less than 24 hours. Let's say it's a knot. Even if it's a knot, but it's only a problem if it's 24 hours. It's not a strong knot. A strong knot is for 24 hours. That's what you don't have to know. First you have to know, is it a nut? Then once you know it's a nut, you can know, okay, what's next, right? So even if it's a nut, if they would, let's say, time and intend to leave it there for 24 hours, so let's say you bought the chal on Thursday late afternoon, to be safe. You bought it Thursday afternoon for Shabbos, the day before, and they put it like this. And why divide? Person knows you're buying it for Shabbos. It's not going to be open until 24 hours later. You follow what's happening? You can buy it 24 hours in advance, so the intention is no one's going to open up before Shabbos. Then if it's considered or not, you can't open it. Now, there's a way how you could use no one knows about this, no one thinks about these things, but it's brought down that there's a way how to bypass this whole problem. I don't have another. Basically, instead of going like this, instead of going to put on your binoculars if you want, instead of going like this, you go around, you go like that. It's already all messed up. But if it's, let's say it's flat, you go like that. Instead of like that, you go like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You go.
Yeah,
So
you got it yesterday with the
No, I didn't
vertical
show you.
thing. Right.
Right, I saw on the guard, but not on this.
Yeah.
Right, okay. No, the guard for something else. You go around, you can tuck it in. Hey, you're not even tucking it in. You're just going around. The whole idea, why is it questionable? It's not really a knot, but that's how they make knots. That's how they make rope. So that's what some say it's like a knot. And if you go like that, then you bypass the whole issue.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay, with this time with shoelace thing, how can you break Shabbos after Shabbos ends? But if you intentionally say, oh, I know it's gonna be more than 24 hours, but the 24 hours after Shabbos is already over.
When did you tie the shoes when?
Like,
Shabbos morning?
yeah. Or Friday night.
You tied your shoes Friday night.
Friday night, and I know by shop, and I'm a moral person, I wanna keep them tied. And then,
Explained before, it's about the intention. When you tied the shoes Friday night, what was the intention? It should stay tied for how long?
but even if my intention, I'm just wondering, how could it be a concept that I could break something after something is over?
Yeah, I think, okay, so we explained already that it has to do with intention. When you tied it, what was the intention? It should stay tied 24 hours?
No, that it couldn't stay tied. That it should stay tied for more than 24 hours, yeah. That's
So
my
what's,
intention.
so then you can't tie it on Shabbos.
But if I do it anyway,
You do what? What's the specific example? What did you do?
I'm just
Say what you
wondering, how could you be breaking Shabbos after Shabbos?
Oh, if you tie your shoes Shabbos morning and you like intend to leave them on.
For 24 hours,
Yeah,
for overnight,
yeah,
then you can't tie it.
even though the 24 hours go after Shabbos.
That's what your question is?
Yeah.
Yes? You understood the question better than me. Okay, no. Okay, I didn't realize you. But I mean, some of this thing is so obvious to me. I don't think of it as a question, so that's why I can't grasp what the question is, because I'm like, what? The point is, who cares what's that, the 24 hours goes into after Shabbos? When you tie your shoes, if you're gonna be tying your shoes Shabbos in the morning, and your intention is it should stay for 24 hours, so now you are transgressing Shabbos, because you are intending that the knot should stay for 24 hours.
okay, in that moment.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that the 24 hours extends into after Shabbos. Right?
But, for example, if I do an act of the halal, right? My intention, the reason like do an act, my intention is like keep the halal. So I can do an act like fast more than 24 hours.
When you're starting it,
Like I do an act to the halal.
after the meal.
Yeah. But my intention, like, there isn't do an act.
No, it's too heavy. Oh,
My intention is
oh, it's a-
keep the halal.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
My intention is keep the halal.
so Friday night you finish eating,
Yeah,
right, and you make a knot,
yeah.
right? And it's for Shabbos morning. So
No,
you're done.
they go,
Shabbos stay eating somewhere else.
yeah,
So now you plan to tie it, then it's gonna stay, you plan to leave it tied for 24 hours.
yeah.
You for sure never eat challah for the next 24 hours?
No, I'm not sure. Maybe someone say,
No. It's not about maybe. What's the usual? It's not about any, oh, maybe so. What's the usual thing? In other words, when you're tying the challah Friday night and you finish, what is usual in terms of
oh, that, don't eat.
you don't plan to eat tomorrow challah, right? Anything could happen. That doesn't mean anything. Right? You don't plan to eat challah until after Shabbos, let's say, right? So now Friday night, you cannot tie the challah like this. You can't do this.
And so.
No, you can't.
You can.
Because being that you planned, you're done. In your mind, I'm tying it should stay this way. Let's say once a Shabbos, you wash another mouth, because that's 24 hours later.
Yeah.
So you could start bringing it to different pieces, you finish eating the meal 11 o'clock at night. And Malka, you can have right after Shabbos. Let's say if you always wash Malka, so it means you plan to undo within 24 hours. It becomes very choppy. What's the situation? But it could be an issue. So then you shouldn't do this.
And how I can do,
How do you tie it?
yeah,
I would say use a rubber band. Or many people just do like this. They just fold it over, they put it under. Like this, they put-
yeah.
That's what
I just had to do that.
Yeah, or you use a rubber band.
never tie a bag.
Or use a disc, but go around like this.
Okay,
But if it's common, but it could be it's okay, because you will knock right after Shabbos. It really depends.
like,
Yeah,
don't mind if the knot is strong or not strong.
doesn't matter. If it's strong, it's gonna be a problem even if it's less than 24 hours. In other words, Friday night after the meal is over, let's say you're eating Shabbos again, Shabbos morning again, you have a meal, right? It's less than 24 hours. But if after the meal, you're gonna go like this, you're gonna go like, you made a real strong knot over here. Look at it, really strong, right?
Yeah.
You can't do this, even less than 24 hours,
Okay.
okay?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
For example, if I want to dye my shoes on Saturday,
You want to?
dye my shoes, hide my shoes
Yeah, I think
on
it,
Saturday.
yeah.
And I know that it's gonna finish Shabbat. But I have my shoes tied. And Shabbat finished, what happened? For example, I go to the shoes with my shoes
Let
tied.
me ask you a question. We're gonna tie your shoes Shabbos morning. And after Shabbos, you're gonna untie your shoes. Before you go to sleep, do you untie it or you leave it tied?
I leave tight and in the morning
No, Shabbos morning, your Shabbos shoes, regular shoes,
Mhm.
okay? Okay, you're tying your shoes Shabbos morning.
Yeah.
When the day is over, you go to sleep, you take off your shoes, right?
Mhm.
You also untie the shoes. Some
Yeah.
people just take off the shoe and you don't untie.
No.
it. You're gonna untie the shoes after Shabbos,
Mhm.
so then you're allowed to tie it. You're allowed to tie it, yeah? You understand? You
Okay.
could tie it. If let's a person has been habit that with the shop, let's say, for whatever reason. At the end of the day, they don't untie their shoes. They just
I did that.
take off the shoe and it
Yeah.
stays tied. That's how they always do it. So let's say that's what happens with the Shabbos shoes. Let's say, every Shabbos, you have the Shabbos shoes, and then the at the Shabbos are so exhausted, they just take off the shoe, they leave it tied, the next Friday, it's still tied, or maybe later than tied. That's what they do every week, they go to sleep, they don't untie the shoes, then they're not allowed to tie the shoes, Shabbos morning. Sounds funny, you can't tie your shoes, so, but it's not the usual situation. Okay, is this clear? Hope it's
Yeah.
clear. Yeah.
Let's say you don't untie your shoes usually, but then your shoes untie, but you wanna tie them again, then can you have the intention that time that after Shabbos is over, you'll untie it? Like, even though it's not the usual, you have the intention to untie it, then it's okay to tie? Or because it's not the usual, you can't do that?
It's like you just said, could you have intention when you tie your shoes
Okay.
on time?
Let's say
So,
normally,
so you can have intention to untie it, so. what's
yeah,
the
but
problem?
even if normally you don't untie it, normally you keep it tied.
But now you have the intention that you will untie it.
Then it doesn't matter what you normally do as long as.
Right,
you
just,
have-
yeah, so now you can have intention that you will untie it. You decide that you will untie it, it's for real, it's not a joke, you plan to untie it. And whatever, if you actually plan, understand, if you, make it clear, if you actually plan to untie it, it's irrelevant what happens later. As long as it's not a joke, I plan to untie it, I just plan it, no, you plan to untie it. If in the end you don't untie it, doesn't matter, it's not an issue because it has to do with the time of the time. Okay? Now, talking about this situation, strong knot, down for less than 24 hours, that never brings, then if a person is going to be very bothered by the fact that he won't be able to wear this dress, this garment, let's say you have a dress, a garment, or whatever, a pair of shoes that has a very strong knot. And you want to wear it, and you can't wear it because there's a strong knot in it, you can't untie it. And the alternative says, we're talking about that if it was meant, if the knot was made in a way to stay for less than 24 hours, let's say, this specific situation. Now, if the number says, then you're allowed to untie. I don't have an example for this. I'm just saying the halacha. So let's say, maybe you can think of something. So let's say you're very upset. I can't use this dress because it has a strong knot. If the knot was made with intention to stay for less than 24 hours, even though it's a strong knot, if it's going to be very upsetting that you cannot use this garment, then you could untie it. So if you could stick an example to this. I can think of an example. About you understanding? But if it's a knot that was intended to stay for 24 hours, it doesn't work. Even if it's not a strong knot. So we're talking about because it's less than 24 hours in a much lower category, even though it's a strong knot, that if it's going to be very upsetting, you can't really use. Okay? Yeah, okay.
So it's, you said with the intention of staying less than 24 hours?
The knot was made. What's the category of a knot less than 24 hours? It's not about how long the knot is already knotted. It has to do with the tension. It's irrelevant if the knot is already there for 2 weeks. When it was made, what was the intention? That's what we go by. Yeah.
Would this be an example of this? If you have like a tag on a dress, and then the tag is like knotted on,
No, is it knotted on the dress?
yeah, like sometimes tag now is not. Oh, yeah.
They knotted onto the dress.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a discussion about this. So I was gonna get to it, but we'll discuss it now. So usually it's not knot, usually it's like plastic, it's like
Yeah.
fastening. Right.
Thing like that, I've seen a few things that have them off.
Right, so here's the thing. There's a discussion about it. Because the intention, on one hand, when they manufacture it, the intention is not that it should stay this way. At least it should take it off. On the other hand, the probability is that it's not coming off within 24 hours. And when they manufacture it until when they tie it until it's going to come off. So therefore, it's a questionable situation. And the halacha, there's no clear thing about it, back and forth. You have the same thing as with a stitch, something that's stitched together. If it's a stitching, we're gonna get to stitching later, sewing later. Yeah, but it's questionable, but it's actually having with the knot, it's knotted on,
Yeah.
they knot on a label or something, right?
Mhm.
So it's questionable, because there's two ways to look at it. So it's better to avoid it. If you avoid it,
And it's
No.
carrying, if you do have it, for the tag.
it's not considered carrying. Carrying, it's not, because it's nullified to the garments. It's something that's not important. If you don't care, anything that's attached, it's really a different topic. Anything that's attached to the garment that you don't care about has no importance and becomes nullified to the garment. So if you don't need a thing, it's not carrying. So you better off carrying it than tearing it off. Okay? Okay. Okay, so any other questions about tying, or what about the halacha of sewing? I think we pretty much finished about tying. We already discussed the amount of tie for a mitzvah, tie or untie if it's for a mitzvah, we discussed it, but we didn't discuss it in another class, but it's not so relevant. We didn't discuss it here. If it's for a mitzvah, there's no real examples these days, but the Chacham are lenient that you're allowed to tie a rabbinic knot, any rabbinic knot. Even over here, you're allowed to tie or untie if it's for the purpose of a mitzvah, or if the person is in pain, the person, I don't have an example of this, the person
Like a
is in a
tourniquet?
lot of tourniquet, this is a medicine, it's for sure. I mean, that's a different discussion. As a person it's a very strong knot and it's hurting him or something like that. He's very uncomfortable. The person is in a very uncomfortable situation. Chacham will lenient with any rabbinic knot.
Like if you are wearing a dress that you tie snug and then you eat a very big meal and the dress is like,
If you're very uncomfortable, I mean, it has to be a relatively reasonable level of discomfort. You can't just be, I'm a little comfortable. So then you can't believe. Again, I don't have examples of this. I'm just mentioning the halachas the way it is.
You're saying rabbinic knot, you mean like not
I don't mean.
more than 24?
A knot that was meant to stay for more than 24 hours, but not permanent forever. Okay. Okay. Any other questions about knots? I think that's pretty much it. There's nothing. Okay, so then is the halachas about. The next halach is Teves. Halach of Teves. In the Mishkan, they had the halach of Teves. What's Teves? Where is Teves? Teves is stitches, stitching, sewing. In the Mishkan, any malacha they can't do on Shabbos again is a malacha that was done in the Mishkan for the purpose of building the Mishkan. And they did sewing because the ideas, the coverings for the Mishkan were stitched together. There were different parts of wool and linen sewn together, and then they would sew it together. So you have the malacha of Teves, and then you also have the malacha of Chaydeya, tearing. Sometimes there would be a worm that would make a hole in one of the areas of the tapestries, then they'd have to cut it out and put another piece over there. So for the building of the Mishkan, they had the malacha of Teves, sewing it. Then they also had the malacha of Chaydeya, tearing, because it wasn't tearing in a destructive way, it was tearing in a constructive way, because they would tear it for the purpose of re-sewing. So the actual halacha is Chaydeya Amnas Mitzvah. Chaydeya tearing Amnas on the condition, literally means on the condition, which means for the purpose. Mitzvah to re-sew. And the malacha is 2 stitches. So when you transgress biblically the malacha of sewing, if you make 2 stitches and then you put a knot at the end, because otherwise it doesn't hold. Or if you do 3 stitches, it's also the malacha of sewing. So the sewing, and then according to the Torah, you have the malacha of tearing with intention to re-sew. According to the Alter Rebbe, the malacha of sewing is only by material that's woven together. So the malacha of Chaydeya, this malacha of Chaydeya does not apply to a piece of paper. I'm not, or to, let's say, to paper towels or the toilet paper. It doesn't apply. We're not saying you're allowed to cut toilet paper, you're allowed to cut paper towels, you're allowed to cut, we're not saying. We're saying that this specific malacha of Teves doesn't apply, according to Alter Rebbe, to tissues, toilet paper, paper towels, because according to the Alter Rebbe, it's only when it's something that's woven together and then you're tearing it apart. This is just to understand what the malacha is.
Okay,
We didn't even discuss what.
about
Okay.
the toilet paper thing.
Okay.
I've asked him. where like you only have toilet paper, like what do you do? So then I'm like, okay, I guess I don't rip like the perforated part, I'll just rip like the other
Okay,
part.
so it's,
Is that better?
so it's something I'm gonna get to later, so I'm just gonna answer briefly.
Okay.
Without going into all the reasons behind it. With toilet paper, if a person has no option, there's nothing else but the regular toilet paper. So there are different ways how to do it. One way is to use it without tearing it. You need to just keep on pulling it into the toilet. And that's not always feasible, because if you have in a place with other people, it could be a chilul Hashem. Yeah, someone else, you come out, someone else walks in, and it's a chilul Hashem. So if that doesn't work, so there are rooms. I mean, this is like very b'diavad. It's not like Chatchila. You have to set up in a way that if you're stuck, you're stuck in a situation. So you try to do it with the sheet, do it in a really regular way. With the elbow, you try to tear it or don't cut. You see, not to cut on the seam is not a full solution. People think, so if you don't cut it on the seam, it's okay. Not cutting on the seam is you're removing one of the issues. It's not, doesn't make it totally permitted just because you're not cutting on the seam. It's still a big issue. So you cut it with the sheening, you use your elbows, you try. But that's like, if you had Chacham will lead when it came to these issues, find other examples of times the Gemara didn't lead with other things in Muktzah back then in these situations, because of called Kavod Avriyos, the honor of creations. So they were lenient. But Chatchila, it's not a good setting.
I have a question with all the melachot Shabbat. Like the big melachot is that when doing the Beit HaMikdash, right?
When he built the Mishkan,
Yeah.
in the Midbar, he built the Mishkan, the tabernacle. The Torah teaches us that we learn out Chacham and our Seder derived from the Psukim, the way the verses are written in a certain way. And the Torah writes, "Don't do malacha on Shabbos." And then the Torah right away starts speaking about the building of the Mishkan. So we learn out what's called malacha that you can't do on Shabbos. Anything that was done for the building of the Mishkan. So
In
you
the
have
Mishkan, in the Midbar? Or?
in the Midbar, yeah.
Okay. I thought that was in the Beit HaMikdash.
No, the Mishkan, the Midbar.
Okay.
So all the things that can't do on Shabbos, these are things that we done for the building of the Mishkan. What are practical examples of sewing? Gluing, staple together, a staple, the glue. These are practical examples these days. Besides the regular sewing, you can't sew, but in terms of like kids, why can't kids glue on Shabbos? You can't, they can't glue, you can't staple. Wait, what is it? It's staple, it's sewing. Other examples of questionable sewing and tearing, right? So there's sewing, stitching, and the counterpart is tearing. You cannot sew, patch together, make one, and then you cannot tear apart. So, for example, opening diapers on Shabbos. Diapers on Shabbos is also a dispute if you can open diapers on Shabbos. They're not talking about the Velcro. The Velcro is not an issue because the Velcro is meant to open and close. But the other regular diapers that are not Velcro, there is a discussion. The consensus is that one can be lenient to open diapers on Shabbos, but there are those that are strict and they don't open diapers on Shabbos. So they say, well, they don't open diapers on Shabbos, or they do. But what they do is they open and close it before Shabbos. Once it's open and closed, so it wasn't closed for 24 hours, now it's not an issue. Because if it's closed for less than 24 hours, it's just like, it's similar to time. If the sewing was done for less than 24 hours, it's not an issue. Now, why is the consensus that it's not an issue? Because when they make the diapers, the intention is not that it should stay this way. The intention is that they should open it. It's not meant to stay this way at all. But the reality is, from when they make the diapers and they package it till when it's used, it's gonna be at least 24 hours. So there's two ways how to look at it. When they close up the diapers and they package it, practically it's going to stay closed for 24 hours. Is that the intention that it should stay this way? No, the intention is that you should use it and open it. So generally, most people are lenient. I'm not going to tell you, personally, I grew up at home and we're very careful with this. For Shabbos, take a package of diapers, I'm doing it for years, take a package of diapers, open and close, open, whatever, 10, 50 diapers with everything you're going to need. You open and close. So like this comes Shabbos. Now it's fine. Why is it fine? Because now it's been closed for less than 24 hours. So this is a stringency that some people have. The same with Band-Aids. Band-Aids, the same thing. Some are strict and they will open and close it. They will prepare Band-Aids before Shabbos. Some say that it's not sanitary once you open and close. It's not so, whatever. It doesn't have the same effect. I don't know. But anyways, halachically, Band-Aids, there is a leniency with Band-Aids because it's not meant to stay this way. So you definitely, now if you have a non-Jew or if you have a child that's under bar or bas mitzvah, then it's best to ask them. Now, let me just clarify it. Halachically, Band-Aids is fine. You could open Band-Aids on Shabbos. You could open diapers on Shabbos. It's okay. It's accepted. There's good reason that it's fine. I'm just saying there is a better and nicer way that some people are strict when it comes to diapers and Band-Aids. Now, how are you going to be strict with Band-Aids if you need a Band-Aid on Shabbos? You're not going to use the Band-Aid. So there is this idea that you can ask a child. Now, how could you ask a child? Could you ask a child to open up the lights? No. You can't ask a child to do something that's prohibited. But when it comes to things that are stringencies, then there is reason to ask a child, because if you want to be strict on Shabbos, and for the child, according to being that he's under bas mitzvah, so not necessarily does he have to hold all the stringencies. And also explored in Shulchan Aruch that there can be situations where there are some situations I'm not going to go into, hypothetically speaking, where you can actually sometimes ask a child to do something that's actually prohibited, but only rabbinically in certain situations. We're not going to don't walk away with this yet, that you could. There are situations, not usual, maybe we can talk about it one day, but there is such a concept that when something gets very urgent, you can actually ask a child on the bas mitzvah to do a rabbinic prohibition. But that's not the usual situations, and there's a lot of conditions and strings attached to it. Only in this situation, that. So, but for sure, you have this idea when it comes to stringency, something that's we're strict about. Some people, what they will do is they'll ask a child to do something that halachically it's okay, but you want to be strict, so they'll ask a child to do it. Okay. Any questions?
About the Band-Aid thing.
Yes.
How do you, I don't know, I've been maybe from the foreign job, and you don't know if he's gonna get hurt. Like, is it a Band-Aid?
So I'm saying you could open a Band-Aid. Some people, there is this idea that some are strict that they don't, or they open before Shabbos to ask a child. There is adequate room for leniency with Band-Aids, because it's not really sewing, it's not meant to stay this way.
And it's because the Band-Aid has the glue.
Right. In other words, in theory,
Diaper.
it's anything that's glued together is called sewing. If it's glued together and sewing, then if you take it apart, you're tearing, kanel. The Band-Aid is glued together, but it's not intended to stay this way. That's why we can't be neat. It's meant to stay this way. They initially put it together in such a way that it could be used right away. But in reality, is it going to be undone within 24 hours? No. So you see, there's two angles over here. So that's why it's like, some are strict and most people are lenient. Okay.
Not with the Velcro, is that what you're saying?
Velcro is not an issue, because that's what Velcro is. Velcro is made to open and close, it's like a button, it's not. But regular diapers is more of an issue, one issue. Luckily, it's allowed, it's still allowed. But there are those that will be strict with regular diapers. Okay, we'll stop here.
Question. When you got a little bit earlier, lunch.
Yes.
I forgot, like, what was that for making oatmeal chocolate?
Instant oatmeal.
Like where you have like, you just add hot water and then it makes like,
Okay, so there could be a problem with traditional cooking.
okay.
I don't know if it's cooked yet. I don't remember about how it works with oatmeal.